What is going on, everybody? This is the Undefeated by Choice podcast, brought to you by Steelfist, and I bet some of you are wondering why this nerd has his sunglasses on inside. And it ain't because I got a black eye or nothing. I'm just wearing it in respects to my boy Thiago Santos, wearing his sunglasses inside all the time, going in this past weekend against John Jones, blowing everything out in his leg. His entire leg is blown out. Broken tibia, I believe. MCL, ACL, PCL tear, and went to a decision. One judge actually gave him a split decision, or actually went to split decision. One judge actually gave him the fight. So big shout out to him. That's why I'm gonna rock sunglasses. We'll see if I wear them the whole time. I don't think I will. I'm looking at myself in the camera right now, and I'm not liking what I see, but I might do it just because I got nothing but respect for the dude. Wish him a speedy recovery. We'll see if he comes back. That is a tough. That is. I mean, those types of injuries, especially those injuries to the legs, are pretty much the worst ones you can get. Any one of those tears, and he got all three of them, and then he had a broken tibia on top of that. So. That was I'll get into that card a little bit. Before I jump into any of that, I want to talk about, we've taken a little bit of a break. I've just been celebrating the 4th of July. Went out to Vegas to see that 239 card. We had our powerhouse card for Steelfist the week before, and I wanted to give a little breakdown of what I saw, what I liked, what kind of broke my heart, and so I guess I'll get into that right now. The first fight I wanted to get into was the Domenico Salas and Alden Ashcraft fight. That was a great fight, man. That was probably turning out to be fight of the night. Alden was looking so skilled, so technical, but then Domenico would come with these rushes, and he was catching Alden. It wasn't like it was a completely one-sided fight. It was exactly kind of how I had it planned out in my mind, how I thought it was going to go. Alden was going to use his reach, his technical ability, his athleticism to move around the cage, and Domenico was just going to wait for his opening, and then he was going to rush, and he was going to throw punches and bunches. What I did not expect was the toughness. I was sitting cage side, and I could hear the shots landing from Alden, and Domenico wasn't even wincing. He was just walking straight forward. His hit and like you see someone take a hit, and you can be like, that's a tough guy, he can take a hit, but then you see that what I was able to see, how close I was sitting, and you see someone get hit, and they get hit by a hard shot, and sometimes they'll smile and they'll shake it off, but it hurt. Domenico, you could not even tell, and it's not that it wasn't hurting, it's just that he's that tough. I mean, there's no way you could get hit as hard as he was getting hit and not feel it. I mean, so it just speaks to how tough he was. Alden was doing great. Unfortunately, in the second round, Alden threw a leg kick and broke his leg, and it was a nasty break. He went right down, kind of went down right in front of us cage side, and I could see the bone sticking out, and it was nasty to see. He kept his composure. He wasn't freaking out. You could tell he knew exactly where he was and what was going on. It didn't really seem like he was in shock or anything. Domenico rushed to him immediately and wanted to make sure he was okay, and was apologizing for what had just happened. Just an excellent show of showmanship, of gamemanship on both sides. Domenico was underneath his arm as they were taking him out of the ring. He was helping escort him out, and that's what we love to see, man. That's honestly what we love to see as the organization, as representatives from Steelfist. That's what we love to see, and just as someone who enjoys the sport, the pageantry of it, the trash talk, the build up, that's always fun and stuff, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that these guys, they respect each other, and they go in and they care about each other, because the truth of the matter is without one, you can't have the other. No one goes in there and fights by themselves, so you got to show that respect for each other. So I was excited to see that. It did bring a smile to my face to be able to see that type of thing in that type of situation, because that was a rough situation to be sitting cage side for. So wish nothing but a speedy recovery to Alden. Keep your head up, man. He seems like he's a tough young kid, got a good head on his shoulders, so I'm sure we'll see him back soon. So then we went into the Eric Iman fight, and it was, Eric was pretty dominant in his performance. Andy Witt stepped in at short notice. Gamer, always down to get in there. Love that guy. Have nothing but respect for Andy. But Eric just put on a real good display, real dominant display. Finished him with a knee, and hats off to Eric. You're a good dude. I've trained with him a few times. I really like the guy. So that was a good fight. Now, and then we went to the main event. There was a split decision. Carson Hardman and Brian Thomas, and this one was interesting. We expected to see like a banger. We expected to see a real big stand-up fight, and expected to see Brian using his athleticism, his speed in and out, and expect to see Carson do what Carson does, which we talked about. He's not afraid to take a hit. It's not something that he shies away from. So that's what we were expecting to see. Excuse me, need to take a drink. But that's not actually what we saw. Actually, what we saw was Brian doing a lot of wrestling, taking him down. And Carson's no slouch on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible. It's actually very good. But what I've come to notice in fighting, and then someone can speak to this if they want. You can jump on the comments or whatever. You can say whatever you want, and tell me your thoughts on this. And I'd be curious to hear it. But when you have a jiu-jitsu guy, it wasn't that Brian was winning because he's a better jiu-jitsu guy. It's because he never went for a submission. He was constantly staying active with ground and pound and using his wrestling. And I believe that's the way to nullify a good jiu-jitsu guy, is to not try to catch a jiu-jitsu guy. Because the problem is when you slow down and you give him time to think, and you're going for your submission, or you're trying to lock something in yourself, or you're trying to bait somebody into something yourself, then you are giving them that opportunity. But if you're just constantly staying active and constantly ground and pound and just being heavy and using your wrestling, you're more often than not going to get caught in something. You're more often than not going to be able to maintain control. I think it's when you stop and when you try to just weigh heavy on them, or you start looking for submissions, you start looking for other stuff, is when you can actually get caught by a good jiu-jitsu guy. So I guess my opinion to fighters who maybe their jiu-jitsu game isn't up to where they need it to be, or up to their opponents, if you're a good wrestler, to use your wrestling and your ground and pound, to stay active, to stay moving around. I think that's switching transitions, not letting them get to a leg, not letting them get to an arm. That's kind of a way for you to play to your strength rather than just falling into their trap. Now, if you've got someone who's just a freak on the ground and is going to catch you regardless, then that's then you're going to get caught. But I just, to me, that's what was happening, is that Brian's wrestling was so good, and he was so active, and he was moving around, and he didn't spend a lot of time in one place. He didn't spend a lot of time just trying to win the round. He was constantly just trying to find a different way to hit Carson. And at the end, that's what won him the fight, was just constant control, constant top control, the entire fight. So big hats off to him. And for the casual fans, they might have not have enjoyed that fight as much, because there wasn't the stand-up bang brawl that I had promised on the podcast. But it was actually a very technical fight. I liked it. Carson didn't give up. He didn't just lay there. He was constantly moving and trying to move and trying to adjust and trying to find a way out and trying to find a way up and trying to find a submission and trying to find, it was a chess match on the ground. And anybody who's a real fan of the sport enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed it. So I thought, at the end of the day, it was a great card. It was a really, really, really great card. To those who missed it, you really missed out on some good stuff, on some good fights. The whole night had great fights and fun fights. And so, if you missed out, you missed out. That's on you. You can catch it on Blitz TV. Hopefully soon they'll be replaying all the fights on Blitz TV. And then just don't make that mistake again and come out to the next fight. We've got August 9th coming up. Another thing I want to say before I get into any of the just my opinion stuff, because that's what today's episode is just my opinion. We're doing a lot of changes here on the show. You're going to see a lot of changes on this podcast. And one of the big changes is I am considering bringing in a co-host. I think that it will help with the flow a lot more, because you know what, some days I'm not feeling it, and I get done with an interview and I'm like, man, I was garbage on that. This person wanted to talk, they wanted to do anything, and I just wasn't feeling it. And that's just the nature of the beast when you're in a profession where talking is your job, and sometimes you just don't feel like talking. So I decided that it would really help the show a lot. It'd help me. It would help, and it would help probably with ratings to bring somebody else on. So I'm considering bringing someone else on. I've got everything in motion to do so. So we'll see if it happens. I'm really excited for it. And I think that it'll be a good thing for the show. So that's one of the big things that you're going to see happening is me bringing in a co-host, and I hope that everybody will be excited about it, and it will help propel this show into the next up to the next level. So keep your eye out for that. It could be as soon as Sunday. I've been talking to one particular person about coming in as the co-host, and the chances we might try to put out a show Sunday. If not, we will definitely have it in by the time I just start doing my fighter episodes starting next week for the August card. And so yeah, there we go. We're gonna have a co-host, so everyone look forward to that. All right, so we just had the UFC 239 card in Vegas, and holy shit, what a great card. That was probably the card of the year. I think it will be the card of the year. I don't think they're going to put together another card with better fights and just more action and just bigger names. I don't think it's possible. And unfortunately, I don't think the UFC is even going to attempt to. I think the only time the UFC wants to put money into a card is if Conor's on it, which is unfortunate. But just what I've seen with them recently, it's really been bothering me. It's been bugging the shit out of me. This is why I do this segment, this just my opinion segment, so that I can vent all my frustrations with some organizations and how they do things. And that's not the only reason for it, but that's one of the reasons for it. This card was so good, and I feel like this is International Fight Week, and so there was a lot more going on, but I feel like it was more because it was International Fight Week than it was because of how great the card was. And I want to talk to my new co-host about this, but arguably the two candidates for the true greatest of all time were on this card. You had John Jones and Amanda Nunes, and in my opinion, it comes down to those two. I wish, maybe I've said Mighty Mouse over the time, but I don't see anybody else being on the same level as these two, and I have my opinion who I think is who is the greatest out of the two. I'm going to get into that with my co-host, but you had this card, and I feel like it still didn't even get the attention that it deserved, having these two on it, and then the two people that they faced, Holly Holm and Thiago Santos. It just didn't get the attention it deserved. Then you had the Ben Askren, George Masvidal fight. You had the Michael Chiesa, Diego Sanchez fight. You had my girl Claudia Gadelha versus Ronda Marcos, and a bunch of other fights, and then the Luke Rockhold Blachowicz fight, which was an exciting fight to watch. So you had a great card. Let's just break it down to that. I had a great card, and I'm not going to get into every one of the fights, but I wanted to talk about two things, and it's just what's next? What's next for these two? And I'm going to talk about John, and I want to talk about George Masvidal, because who's not talking about George Masvidal after that flying knee? I mean, it was crazy. But now we're in this situation that we're like, what's next for him, and what makes the most sense for him? And he's ranked number 3. He's actually tied for number 2 in the world right now. So it's him, Tyron Woodley, and then the champ Kamaru Usman. And he says, he said himself, I either want Kamaru or I want Conor McGregor. And for me, anytime someone says Conor's name, I just roll my eyes and I shake my head and I think that's ridiculous. But for some bizarre reason, I actually like this. I actually like that matchup. I actually want to see that matchup for many reasons. And let me break it down why I want to see that fight. Number 1, you got Kamaru, who we don't know when he's coming back. George is healthy. He's ready to go. He's on fire right now. He's trending. He is everything. Everyone's talking about him. How he talks is so smooth and hilarious and smart, but then it comes with like this kind of like I'm from the streets attitude, but it's very educated. And then he's funny, he's witty, he's got a great one-liner. 3-piece in a soda is probably one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Now he's calling himself Street Jesus, and he's out here baptizing people. I mean, he's a gold mine when it comes to publicity, and he's got a good look to him. He's got a great beard with great hair, and just like his swagger, the way he holds himself he's marketable. He's so marketable, and right now he's hot. So you got Kamaru, who we don't know when he's going to be ready to go, and then I kind of feel like the Woodley rematch is what I feel is best for him. Is Kamaru and Woodley one more time. That fight, for a lot of people, it was a boring fight, but I think now that they know each other, and now that Woodley is hungry to get back up there, and Kamaru wants to prove himself again, because Kamaru wants, Tyron was in the talks of being the greatest welterweight of all time, and Kamaru handled him with ease. And then, but it still went to decision. It wasn't a finish. So I think he would like to get that finish to prove that he's not only dominated him once, but now he's able to put him away. And Woodley wants to run it back. And with Kamaru being hurt, and no one really clamoring to see Woodley again right now, that might be a fight that they can build up and put a lot of attention on. And so I think, to me, that's one I want to see. I want to see the rematch there. And then you got Masvidal. But then you got Masvidal, who's ready to go. Now you could see Masvidal and Covington, but that's not a title fight, and it's not Conor, and it's going to be tough to sell that to Masvidal. That's a step back for him to fight Covington, and that's going to be exciting, because it's just going to be them talking shit to each other, which, I mean, that's fine, but I mean, I think when it comes down to it, that'd be a great fight, but I just don't think it's as marketable, and Covington is just a weaker version of Conor McGregor. He's just a lesser version of Conor McGregor, which I hate to say that, because I don't like to give Conor any credit, but Covington is that's how much I don't like Covington, is that I'll say that he's a lesser version of McGregor. Now, this is why I like this fight. This is why I think this is a good fight. Sorry, I'm talking so much, my mouth is getting dry. I don't like the Khabib Conor fight. Conor showed me nothing in that fight. He showed me nothing that deserved a rematch. He showed me nothing that warrants, that makes me think that it's going to go different the second time around. I don't think his ground game is going to improve at all, ever. And so for me, that's not a sellable fight. I mean, you can say, oh, they hate each other, but it's really all Conor that does the talking, and then Khabib that does the ass whooping. Khabib doesn't say a whole lot, and Conor sells the whole fight on his own. just being who he is and using his big mouth, and then Khabib goes out and smashes him. So then what are we left with? A mouth that just gets smashed at the end of the day. So and that's just, and so people want to talk about, oh yeah, they hate each other, there's rivalry. Do you not think that there's going to be a rivalry between George Masvidal and Conor McGregor? If George Masvidal did what he did to Ben Askren because Ben Askren challenged his manhood and his culture, do you not think that Conor McGregor is going to do that too? I mean, the way that Askren talks trash is he talks trash and he mixes it with truth, so that it's hard to deny, it's hard to argue. Conor just says the most ridiculous things of all time. So he is absolutely going to ruffle the feathers. He's actually absolutely going to piss George off. He may get caught with a 3-piece in a soda before they even step into the arena. I mean, that is a sellable, that's a marketable fight. Plus, Conor is on a losing streak, okay? So when was the last time he won? I mean, you can count the boxing or you can't. Whatever, he still lost to Khabib. When was, I mean, I can't remember the stat I saw, but I swear it's been like 2 years since he's had a win, maybe 3 years since he's had a win in the octagon. So I mean, I know he's only had one fight technically, but I mean, he's not championship level. He's not good. It's not good for business for him to be for him to do a championship fight. But then you throw George into the mix, who, if he gets a win against George, now he's got championship potential, because now he's just beat the number 2 at a heavier weight class, but a weight class that he's already fought in. So, and he fought a guy who's very similar to George, who they did very well. A guy who doesn't talk very well. A guy who, will flip you off and throw bottles at you, and a guy much like George, very sellable fight. Jorge. A guy very much like Jorge. Very, very sellable fight. And also Jorge's on this mission right now to shut up all the trash talkers. He said at the fight, like, all these people who are doing all this talking, like, we need to shut them up. That's why I hit Ben with those extra 2 shots, is because, I needed to teach him a lesson for all the stuff that he said. And so he's on this mission to knock out trash talkers. And who is the greatest trash talker in the game? Mr. Conor McGregor. So for me, that fight is the fight to make. That's the money fight. That's the biggest fight of the year, as far as pay-per-view buys and numbers and excitement towards the fight. I think you could build that one up. You could take that one on a world tour. You could do whatever you want with that one, and that thing is going to sell huge. So for me, that's the fight to make for Mr. Jorge Masvidal. The second fight I want to talk about, who's next for who, is Mr. John Jones. What are we going to do with him? I hear names being tossed out. We hear the Daniel Cormier rematch, and I don't get on board with that. I'm not excited to see that. I will, because I watch all the UFCs, but it's not something that I'm going to make a special event for. I don't think that it's a different fight at heavyweight. John walks around as a heavyweight. He knows how to handle that body weight. He knows how to move with that body weight. Cormier, yes, is undefeated at heavyweight, but he's also undefeated at light heavyweight other than John Jones. So to say that, he's much better as a heavyweight, doesn't mean anything. Now, maybe he won't be as depleted and he has a little more energy, but I just I don't see that fight ending differently. And then what happens if it does end differently? He rides off into the sunset getting one win against John Jones. Is he really going to walk away going, oh, that one win just changed everything? It changed the other 2 fights where he absolutely dominated me. I got the win at heavyweight, so because I was heavier, I'm bigger or whatever. I don't think that it's any more of a victory to him to win that fight. I don't think at the end of the day it changes anything. It's just not an exciting fight for me. It's not. I'm just not I don't get it, and I don't get why other fans are buying into this, why other people want to see it. I think it's, I think the people who want to see it are the people who don't like Jon Jones, who want to see Jon Jones win, and they think that the best opportunity for him to lose is if he fights Daniel Cormier, who's like the superhero of the UFC. He's the golden boy. He's he's on the broadcast. He's a company man. He's everything. So for the big UFC fans that don't like Jon Jones, they just want to see the golden boy go in and win. And I don't want to trash talk Daniel Cormier, because I actually like Daniel Cormier a lot, and I do think he's great on commentary. He's fun to listen to, and I think other than Jon Jones, he's one of the greatest to ever do it at light heavyweight and at heavyweight. So I don't want to diminish anything about him or talk bad about him in any way. I just want to say I don't think that he gets it done against Jon. I don't want to see him get a loss on his way out on his retirement fight, and I just don't want to see that fight. It does nothing for me. So then we're left who's next for Jon. And I got two people in mind. Three people in mind, and number one, it's a lot of the talk right now. So two people that keep getting their names thrown in there, and it's pissing me off because it makes zero sense, is Johnny Walker and Israel Adesanya. First of all, Israel, you're not in the same weight class. You don't carry the same weight. You're not you're not there. I'm sorry. He went to a decision against an older Anderson Silva. He had the fight of the year against Kevin Gastelum, who is not he's not even the top of that weight class. He's a great fighter and it was a tough fight, but he's not even the top of the weight class. Israel, you need to get past Whitaker. And you need to get past Romero before you even think about anything else. So honestly, that talk needs to be done. That talk needs no one. The next person who says that is going to get a roundhouse to the face by me, because that's the dumbest argument. Because they kind of look similar in body type. If you actually stand them next to each other, they're very different. They just look similar on TV. That's it. You see them on TV and you're like, oh, they kind of look the same. Oh, they kind of move the same. Let's see them versus each other. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay? I mean, I saw Clay Guida this week, who on TV looks like a decent sized dude. I saw him out of one of the hotels in Vegas this week. I'm taller than he is. I'm 5'9". And I was a lot taller than him. He's not a big guy. On TV, they look big. So you see Israel on TV, and you're like, oh, he's big, and Jon's big. So yeah, they could fight each other. He could put on weight. No, it's not the same thing. It wouldn't be the same thing. That conversation needs to stop. He's got another 3 years of dedication in the weight room before he even can consider stepping in there with Jon. And then I would be all for it. Because I do think he's a skilled fighter. Maybe my passion against that was downplaying him a little bit. He is a great fighter, but he's not there yet as far as size. And then the other one that's got to stop is the Johnny Walker talk. Let Johnny build. First of all, Johnny's injured because he celebrated too much and blew out his shoulder. So that fight is not even on the table, because we don't know when his return is gonna be. Also, he's not even ranked in the top 6. So why is he someone that we're gonna want to see already? Why is he why is he someone that you're so excited to see? Because he's had some exciting finishes against lesser opponents. Okay, cool. Let him keep doing it. Let someone lesser than Jon Jones see if they can figure out the puzzle